She's getting, Scott doesn't have his coffee.
Oh, God, give us
Hey,
coffee.
hey, I asked for coffee after
I know.
everyone should have had their
I know.
coffee.
I heard you.
I waited until the last moment.
Okay, we're making the turn.
It's coming.
Oh, muchas gracias.
Morning 2 or 3.
Oh, there.
No, I tried it.
We are
Yeah,
ready.
everybody
you
needs-
lose.
Ray, you got to play the game. Okay.
No, just leave it there. She'll get it.
Okay.
She knows.
Well, we're online. Things are
No,
rolling.
no, do
I think it's working. I had audio problems.
Get her.
I had starting problems this morning. I'm not quite as prepared as I typically would be, so I welcome other topics, but I did bring a few topics with me. We just had an issue this morning that set me back about a half hour. I do most of my prep early in the morning before our meeting, and I didn't get a chance to do it. So I got a couple offhand topics, but anybody that wants to contribute, please feel free to shout in.
Scott,
We-
I have something.
Like I did say, who knows? It might rain. If it does rain, I'm shutting everything down because I got to move all this equipment out of the rain. So, but again, we're the San Carlos Computer Club. I'm Scott Stempson from International Computer Solutions. This is a big table of people. We've got familiar faces everywhere. Do we have any new faces? I don't see any new
change
people.
mine this morning.
You didn't take yours.
Still the old man.
I'll have to put some of those emojis on top of your face so you have a new face.
Scott, we have 23 people, including Cesar and Fernanda.
All right,
That's a record.
that's a record.
His name is Six.
23 people. Did that include me?
Why did you say it?
Okay, well, let's get started. Does anyone have anything they'd like to contribute right off the bat? Bob? Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, yesterday I was looking at the news, and they were talking about 5G, and they were talking about the Chinese, and they were talking about security, all of which we are concerned with because Scott's got these cameras that are showing everybody exactly where we are instead of where we should be.
Well, and they are geolocated with timestamps.
Anyway, this was
But our spouse isn't logged on.
the short of it was that the Chinese, and I can't pronounce the name, begins with an H,
Huawei.
the company is subsidized by the Chinese
Huawei.
government, and they are selling 5G for 1/4 of what anybody else, Samsung and a number of others, are selling for. And so
But there's nothing
the
to connect to.
US government
He needs Google.
is very concerned about security because of this particular government. Now, I'd like to know what you know about it.
What I know about it. Well, I know that the Americans are behind. I know that Intel doesn't have an offering for 5G. I know that the administration was using this as a ploy to hold back so that to give the American companies a chance to get in and have some market share. And that the security risk is the same security risk that we've always faced with all these technologies. Everything's built in China. And we wouldn't put equipment in our networks that hadn't been vetted, and at the same time, it's impossible to vet it entirely. We've had occasions where they've found malicious stuff written right into silicon, and that's very hard to vet. It's the kind of thing that doesn't feel, outside of getting a microscope, an electron microscope, and tracing out the patterns and being that kind of engineer that could understand that what they're looking at in the silicon could be turned on at a moment and be used maliciously, which is really difficult to vet this kind of stuff now. It happens at such a small level. I mean, at the atomic level, these things are being built.
So you're not as concerned about security.
I think the security concern, I think this is a political thing.
Okay.
And I think the security concern is real, but it's always existed. That it's something that we deal with on a daily basis, and it's difficult I mean, when you bring it in, I think it's important we need to know that all this goes on, that all this is possible. At the same time, it never affected these kinds of decisions before this administration. And I think this is very intentionally our administration using very well documented experiences in the past where they have gone against the rules, like both Huawei and I'm having trouble remembering the other one's name at the moment. No, Nokia's Finnish, or was Finnish. There's another one that was, and I was a little frustrated because they actually allowed them to do business before they allowed Huawei to do business. But there's documented cases where they had sold to the Iranians and they had sold to North Korea in violation of trade agreements they have with the United States. And so those are very good reasons to halt contracts with them and have them make amends and come up with systems so that we know they're not doing that again. And Huawei did it again.
Huawei that's the company that it's like 30 stories tall, brand new building with a big H. It begins with an H, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Huawei.
Yeah, I don't know about the building, but it is the one that the United States has had Canada incarcerate the daughter of the founder of the company because she's the CEO in Canada. She's under house arrest. She's going on 2 years of house arrest because they want her extradited to the United States to face espionage charges. And in my opinion, all of that's trumped up.
So to speak.
Good one. That's good. That's good. We'll give you that one.
Because
No, wait a minute, it's Hillary's fault. He'll tell you it's Hillary's fault.
I meant it as an adjective, but it is very appropriate.
Well,
But hold on, I believe that it has been done to give Intel a chance and Broadcom a chance to get into the 5G business and get government contracts and get municipal contracts, and they stumbled. They don't have a product. If we rely on Intel to provide these chips, we're not going to go forward in the future. Whereas all these other countries are. Even the UK has vetted the Huawei equipment and has said we're gonna make it okay to use this
I would
equipment.
vote for competition.
Yeah.
I would, because I'm afraid that Mexico might be wiped off the map, and the United States as well, if things are not turned around and everything gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So I would vote for competition.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
I'll vote.
Start a company, Bob.
Hey,
Yeah.
at the same time, 5G is not close to us. We're talking about the planning stages for 5G.
Oh, really?
And they talk about it. There's a lot of talk about it, but we don't have 5G devices in hand. We don't have networks that are. In fact, they've been talking about CES for the last 2 weeks, and the impression I'm getting is that the carriers, things like AT&T, Sprint, Verizon, T-Mobile.
They advertise that they have it.
The reason that they're interested in seeing 5G roll out is because they can get into the data cloud business. And they can compete with Amazon and Microsoft and Google in that space. That's where they see their future. Because communication is not turning as much money as it was. We all have figured out how to communicate with each other at the cheapest price possible. And the most basic device is allowing us to do it. And it became unpopular to charge you contracts for your phones, so they're not making money off of that anymore. And so the next move is to go into cloud storage. And whether that touches our lives or not, it's the big business that they want to get into. So maybe you won't be aware of it. Maybe Verizon won't come to you and say, do all your backups. But they will be coming to the corporation you work for and saying, look what we've got available. And it's just on the other side of that wire. You don't have to trust it to go across the country. You can trust it to go to our data area in the just on the other side of the wire, I guess the best way to think of it as an analogy. And so it'll be interesting to see what happens with 5G, because we don't have we don't have equipment being produced or being engineered by American companies right now for 5G. So they have to turn to these Chinese companies right now. I don't know if maybe the carriers are going to make a push in government because they want to get into this business so badly to get our government to loosen up the reins. I don't know what's going to happen with the CEO's daughter, or the CEO. I mean, she is a Canadian. She's got like dual citizenship. She's got property in Canada. And she's been under house arrest this whole time. And the Canadians so far have decided that they are not handing her over without a good enough reason, and the Americans haven't provided a good enough reason yet.
But the court cases started this week.
Yeah,
The
so that
extradition hearing.
this is where we're going to find out if they had a good enough reason.
It's kind of coincidental.
Coincidental?
Coincidental.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, never mind.
It is, because those cases are going at the same
Yeah.
time.
Maybe.
No, but I think it's
Wonder if she
just,
can sue the government.
It's a fluke that it's happening at the same time. Will the Canadians hand her over if she's possibly facing execution for espionage?
No, that not, we have.
The Canadians won't do that.
We won't extradite to any country where there's a chance that they'll get executed.
So actually, it would be in her favor if Trump just starts tweeting.
Who's kept him out of the potty for the last few days? Yeah.
He's a terrible.
He will definitely say something to threaten her life as a spy, and that will probably save her from being extradited. This is my prediction.
It showed her going to court, and she had lovely Prada shoes on, and then a big geo positioner on her ankle.
Yeah. So yeah, all that is affecting 5G and the future of 5G in our country, and none of it is very. But we're just behind. Our companies are behind, and that's the real problem. Right? Whether the foreign countries' equipment is going to be installed, whether they're going to be used for espionage. I mean, we do the same thing. We've got back doors into equipment that were discovered later that we sold to foreign. I mean, that's the thing is, I'm sorry, America, but it's all coming back. This is everything that we've been doing is coming back to us now.
And we're accusing the Chinese of it.
Right.
There is, when I was in China for a couple months ago, and the newspapers, the English-speaking newspapers, which are not necessarily foreign-owned, are full of that. They'll say, you know, we're being accused of this, but America did this in the 60s, or America did that in the same thing, same kind of thing.
Yeah, well, and you remember back during Obama, and they had the climate summits.
Yes.
That was the big thing with India. Is like we're starting to thrive. We're starting to build this first world kind of nation that you guys have, and you're trying to cut us off at the legs. And you burned all these pollutions. How come we can't do it? It's
Scott and Ray, we're not supposed to be talking about politics here.
you did it. This is you.
One
This
of
is
the things,
Bob's topic. This is Bob's topic.
Yes, it is.
but one of the things that I was looking out for when I went over there was, say, pollution and how polluted we hear their cities are and stuff. Beijing was cleaner than Phoenix. In the last 20 years, they have accomplished wonderful things. They've cut their coal usage by 70-some-odd% in 5 years.
Put a lot of people out of work.
No, their unemployment rate on the mainland is very low. Hong Kong's a different story. But they are much more progressive than we give them credit for, and they are,
half of their power from coal burning power plants. Is what our guy told us.
well, they're wrong.
50% of their power.
When
coming
did you
from
go?
September.
You didn't see her?
No?
I don't know. That was what
Ray-
the
Ray-
government paid guards or guides told us that
Well,
50% of their power comes from coal.
We heard that it was
I've heard they're moving
going
into
down
solar.
70 Yeah,
They
they
are
are.
moving.
That's
Solar and wind.
I heard they're moving into solar much
But-
faster than we are.
We never saw a windmill.
Oh, I did. Did you go up to Yangtze?
More than half the
Did you?
patents for solar
Couple,
are
but not like here.
Chinese now.
Not
Have you
like
guys-
Oh,
here.
Palm
Nothing
Palm
like
Springs
here.
spread was minor league to what I saw.
Oh, we saw a different thing.
Yeah, we did.
I've got a monitor. Have you got some trip pictures we could?
Never
Ray,
I was-
what Hyatt house did you stay in
Oh,
when you were
no,
in China?
no, it wasn't like that.
Gary,
Was it
watch the
Trump
cable
Tower?
there.
No.
We've got a real awkward setup this time. Just a reminder, there are cables that are awkwardly placed today, so just watch your feet as you're moving around. I don't want you to trip. I worry more about you than I do the equipment, but I don't want you to trip.
We trip when it's wireless, so.
Yeah.
Paul, this is the wireless installation.
But the copyright infringement laws, that kind of thing, we paid not much attention to them until the 70s. And China openly admits, he said, hey, we never signed those agreements. We don't have to
Yeah.
abide by them. And they're very open about it.
I think about that. I'm using an app to watch TV shows called Streamio. I've mentioned it before. It's in the Google Play Store now. All right, you can download it right from the Google Play Store, and you can install it in your device, and you can start watching TV, watch TV shows. Like on demand. It's like nothing's stopping that, and I believe it's the same thing. It's like wherever that is being developed and added is outside the copyright restriction bounds.
And unless you have an international agreement to abide by those, what's to say you can't?
The other thing about China that is really amazing to think about is that they are their economy is growing 6 times faster than ours is. Or 3 times faster than ours is. It seems like ours is growing at 2% and theirs is growing at 6%. And even though they're behind us, it's predicted they will pass us in less than 10 years.
Okay, so we are really stealing their intellectual property, right?
No,
They're smarter than we are.
I don't know whether I can take a position on that, Bob.
Oh,
But
really?
go forward with your idea or your thought.
Well, intellectual property has been in the news a lot recently, and I know that's been something that a good friend of mine who's died in Portland, Oregon, he was a lawyer dealing with intellectual property, and that's been going on for 30, 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I'm hearing you say is that China, because of the way that they are set up, is smarter than we are doing things that we have never ever thought of or couldn't think of.
I don't think he's said that.
Well,
It's a pretty fast generalization. I
What?
think
Yeah.
any nation takes advantage of whatever they can get.
if I had to have an opinion on it, it would be we better get prepared because this is the reality.
They're smart
The-
also.
I think that
This happened to England.
Also.
Also.
Now they're going through Brexit. All right. I mean, we've got to be smart about the way we go forward in the future because this is the reality. The reality is, if something drastic doesn't happen, this is the course we're on. Their economy is going to exceed our economy in less than 10 years. They've got more people to do labor. They've got more technology to do data. This is the world we live in now, and so we've got to figure out how we go forward in it.
In North America, we've lived on our natural resources, and so we've been able to get slack and not really develop our human resources as well as we should. Poor education in many places, and expensive education in places, and that's not the case around the world. So when it comes down to the fact that it's the human resource, not the natural resource, that's going to be preeminent, we're behind the 8 ball here in North America.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It really feels like we've been kind of full of ourselves.
Their government-
It's
We're all
it's
ignoring
not
Well-
just shoveling human resource, it's the one between the ears kind of.
We've been so full of ourselves, we've let education go to the wayside, so we don't even have another generation of people ready to pick
We
up
don't
the
even
torch.
teach a second language in many
Right?
cases.
Yeah, no, it's...
And who has a computer question?
let's...
Thank you.
Let's
Start off with you.
any computer questions?
Did you get that email? What about Roku slowing Amazon down?
I did, and it's an interesting article. Christine sent me this article entitled, "Is Amazon Deliberately Degrading Prime Video Streams on Roku devices and Smart TVs?" And, I mean, I went through it. A lot of anecdotal evidence. A lot of people out there complaining that their streams are bad on Amazon. I use Amazon Prime on an Android TV, some knockoff Chinese box. I use it on a smart TV, Samsung, and I have experienced blurriness, but it normally clears up.
Yeah.
And I normally feel like I can attribute it to something like just bandwidth, either on my end or something down the chain. If anything, I'm always really surprised at how well it works. And I think even Christine, weren't you having an experience where you're fighting with Netflix, but Prime worked just fine?
Yeah, and everything, well, and then I went back in, I said, well, let me experiment. And everything on Netflix was fine except that one show. So what I did, every time I went to watch that show, I went to continue watching. So I went down to my list and clicked on it, and it worked.
Oh, so you were using my list. But it should have been links to the same stuff,
That's
shouldn't
what
it?
I thought.
Yeah. I think that falls more into the category of restart it. Hey, did you try restarting it a
Yeah,
couple
I've
of
done
times?
that, and I went back to a factory reset.
Yeah, are we talking about Prime or Netflix now?
Netflix.
Okay, and so this is specifically Amazon we're
Right.
talking about, and the premise is, well, maybe they're degrading the quality of experience on smart TVs and Rokus because their Amazon products are in competition with those products, which it's a kind of a far-fetched conspiracy theory, I think, because Amazon's ready to just give you their products. It doesn't seem like they plan on making money off their products in the first place. What they really want is for you to be a Prime member. And if what's getting you into being a Prime member is your video experience, I think they just want to see it be as good as they can. I just haven't experienced these kinds of things like this article is talking about. There are people that, and it's in internet language, right? It's in all caps going, "I've been dealing with this for months." It's like, well, that sounds a little extreme. I've definitely not had an Amazon Prime problem that lasted for months. And I'm here in Mexico using bizarre equipment to make it work. You would think that a smart TV that has an authorized and anointed Amazon Prime account would be good outside of the problems that at the moment are out of Amazon's control. I bet they're still gearing up their infrastructure and there's spotty areas. Do you have something you want to add, Jim?
A lot of that has to do with the app that's on your TV. Some of the TVs aren't updating their apps, so they're using an older version app where Amazon is constantly updating their system, so it's not talking to the TV as well. And no, I haven't had a problem, but I use a computer.
Yeah.
And I haven't had a problem either on the TV or the Roku.
I've actually, as much as I found the article interesting to go through, and I'll post it up on the website, so if you guys want to look at it, it's a current article, and it falls back throughout the entire year, following people's complaints that they found in different discussion groups and different forums, but they really haven't had any real follow-up on any of those thoughts. It's more like a conspiracy theory. It's like you got a bunch of people complaining about it and nothing verifying whether this is actually happening. It doesn't feel like, you look at the way Amazon's hitting the market with this stuff, and it's like they want to just give their products away so you buy into their services. They want to keep you as Prime. Well, and somebody made the comment, "I'm paying for this." It's like, well, are you? I think you're paying for free shipping, and they just gave you this. I really think that's what's going on. I mean, they're not able to. They can't compete with Netflix at the moment, even though at some point they will because they've got those kinds of bucks. But right now, Apple can't compete with Netflix. They got 12 shows. They've got the most expensive hardware on the planet, and they're absolutely no competition for Netflix.
How's
So-
your Disney Channel doing?
rocky, isn't it? I really thought it would just explode, and it's been kind of a rocky start for. You know, the first week they were up, they had all kinds of complaints about inaccessible content. And then I keep hearing tech journalists talking about how they're just not finding the content they were expecting to find. So it's interesting. Most of the people that have kids just went ahead and bought it, and they're stuck in it. I've been able to find the content that I'm interested from Disney in all the same ways I've found anything else, so I haven't any reason to be. But I've got a buddy that gave me access. When you subscribe, you get like 5 accesses, and so he gave me access to it. It's not available here, so I'd have to run it across the VPN, and I seldom use a VPN. And since I'm able to get access to the content I care about, I don't care about running a VPN or getting access to
So
it.
Disney Plus is not available here?
Not yet, not in Latin America. I suspect it will be this year. This year they'll have a Latin American offering. And I really suspect that even more so now that Netflix has gotten in bed with Telmex. And it's become part of your infinitum package to get a Netflix account. It's impressive what as well. So if you needed a backup solution, there's something like 15 to 25 gigabytes I think that are out there as part of your internet package you could use. To be honest with you, I've never set that up. Nobody's asked me to set that up, and I haven't even looked at it. One of these days I ought to look at it.
Setting up which?
Cloud. The Mexican Telmex is offering you Claro Cloud, which I don't remember the numbers. It's something like 15 or 25 gigabytes of free space out there as part of your infinitum package.
The infinitum package includes Netflix here?
Yeah, the new packages
for
include.
$4.99.
Yeah, for $4.99. That's right. You can still get internet for cheaper than $4.99, but for those of you paying $4.99 or more, you can have Netflix with it as well.
Claro Video is free, but you have to have enough speed to work any of these things, which
That's right.
is
Like
another issue.
if you're in Loma del, if you disconnect from Telmex, I'm not remembering what was it.
If you disconnect from Telmex, your internet,
Yeah.
your long distance goes too.
Oh yeah, that's right. That is part of the
I-
digital package that you're buying.
So if I go down, I did go down, and I got another modem, but I didn't hook it up.
Okay.
I have X-Pro as my internet.
No, you shouldn't need the modem.
Okay,
Yeah. And X-Pro's got a fairly fast signal these
they
do.
do.
I might.
Yesterday wasn't too good, but-
I mean, you know what kind of person I am. I would definitely hook up the modem at the very least, because that's the kind of guy I am.
And what would be the advantage for that? You would just switch back and forth depending on how you felt? Or?
These days, it's not inconceivable to get a router that can. I mean, we've done. It's called load balancing, and we've done that kind of thing for years in corporate environments. But those devices used to be like thousands of dollars. The device is able to look at both your paths and see which one's going to be faster at any given moment, and send and receive data on either one of those paths. And so it's a doable thing, but you don't normally see it in the consumer space. You normally see it in the commercial space.
Because Juan did say that they were picking up the equipment to put in their new tower or whatever they're doing, so it's going to be fairly soon.
Yeah, and from what I understand, the way it works is what he'll do is he'll have a bunch of customers that could benefit from being on the move over to that tower. They'll have a different access point to access. I still haven't talked to him. I need to talk to him and have him come in and give us the details.
We met Benny.
My brother-in-law? All right.
Yeah, we found it.
Did you get, I can't remember what it was you were trying to get done.
He doesn't do what we need, but
Oh,
he just
okay.
does repair.
Repair, what was it you were trying to do?
We were having trouble dialing, and so we were curious about getting a dual SIM, one for Mexico and one for the U.S.
Oh, buy a dual SIM
Yeah,
phone.
And he doesn't do, well, we have the phone that's dual SIM. So we went to AT&T, and AT&T said, yeah, you have to buy a whole new package for the second SIM. And I said,
No.
we'll just work with the one we've got.
Do you want a second SIM? Is that what you're looking for?
I was hoping that would help resolve the problem. But I think what we're discovering is that a lot of people have shut down their landlines because we get this Mexican message that says numero no longer existo or something. So
When you're trying to call people?
Well, we know what you mean. Yeah.
Well, Well, and to follow up on, I'm sorry if I wouldn't have sent you to him for another SIM card.
Well, that's not how we started, but.
Okay,
got into
if
that.
you are interested in a SIM card, it's very simple. You can go right into an OXXO and buy a SIM card for 29 pesos. So if you wanted to add a second service to your phone, you can totally do that right in OXXO. Don't think you're getting out of there for under 30 pesos though, because you do need to put time on that card or it's useless. And so it's 29 pesos for the SIM, and then you got to put some money down for your service, like 50 to 100 pesos.
What kind of service you have now?
AT&T in Mexico. and
What
it
if it's
says
an
up in the
unactivated
corner,
phone?
you know,
Would they
AT&T
activate it for
Max.
you?
What do you mean
I
unactivated?
haven't paid my,
Put
on my
if that takes 2 SIMs, you can put a
cell phone.
cell SIM in
I
it,
haven't up,
too,
let me
depending-
think. I haven't used it in over a year, so I
whichever
don't
one
have a
you want to
program
use,
anymore.
what you're
It's just a phone.
use.
You don't.
I don't have a number, I don't have nada.
What was it through Telcel?
Telcel.
No, it's a Samsung
Yeah, and
from
what
the
the
States.
guy uses
I had
200
AT&T.
pesos.
As long as it isn't locked to AT&T.
US
No,
and
it's not.
Canada.
If it's not locked to
Yeah.
AT&T, then you can just take out the
Unlimited
AT&T
Facebook.
SIM and
Yeah.
buy a Telcel
Okay.
SIM and
And they'll
stuck
give
it
me a
in.
new
But
number?
what telephone number?
Yeah, it'll come with a new telephone number.
Will.
Yeah, when you buy a SIM card, when you buy a SIM card from OXXO, like I'm talking about, it comes with a phone number.
And can you re-up that every time period?
Anytime you put money onto it.
Yeah, it would be prepay, and you would go into OXXO and you would pay
Yeah.
them, and
Cool.
yeah, and they would.
So you don't have to go to a Telcel place to.
I'm really Richard must have wandered out of here, but he's the guy I know that knows so much about it. He does prepaid all the time, and he's looked at the different plans and.
Well, I like
Oops.
that up the prepaid, because I never used it.
Because they
then, you
changed
know.
their format,
Yeah,
you don't need the one anymore. If you're calling
And then I
yourself.
got AT&T, and I said, this is,
Scott, Scott,
Yes.
why would you not use
I have a
a
question about
international SIM card
telephone.
and just have one card?
American AT&T.
Is there a
you'd have to
disadvantage
add
to
in
an international SIM card?
Star
What do you mean by international?
one.
They have cards now that are good
2,
worldwide.
622.
Well, it would all just have to do with
Yeah, it says it.
the plan pricing and coverage, and
Oh, okay.
and whether you need a Mexican number. I mean, like one of the good reasons to have a Mexican SIM is because you might be handing a phone number out to people that are not able to call that international SIM, and so having a local Mexican number would make sense. I definitely deal with that in the reverse. Like I do most of my business with the bed and breakfast with my Mexican cell phone. I've got service all the way up to Alaska with no problems, and it's the exact same package. You get 3 gigs of data. I've got unlimited calling and texting internationally, but no one in Alaska has a package, or seldom do they have a package that would allow them to call Mexico. And so when they go to call me, they're paying a long distance international fee. So what I like to do is I like to get an Alaskan SIM card. That way I have an Alaskan area code. Anybody that I'm dealing with can call me locally, right? And so that would be a reason that you would do it. But in the reverse in this case, you've got a reason.
That's a good point.
Yeah, that's.
My daughter has traveled in a lot of countries, and she has a SIM card holder, and with all these SIM cards, and I've wondered why doesn't she just have one international SIM card? I've wondered.
Well, the idea of a reasonably priced service that you could go across countries is relatively new. I mean, within the last, 5 years or so, within the last handful of years, it's a concept that just didn't exist before. And what was very common was to go to another country and immediately buy a new SIM in their country so that you'd have data and you'd have access to a phone in case of emergencies.
Does it automatically switch between the SIMs, or do you have to do something physically?
Well, if you've got a dual SIM phone, then it is almost automatic. About the only thing that, in fact, I don't think you have to make any. I know I have a dual SIM phone,
And you've got a Huawei.
and it's a Huawei. And when one SIM rings, it displays on the screen which SIM it is. and there is a dual SIM manager that's part of the Android operating system, and I am able to assign a different ringtone to the other SIM. And so the decision making on your part would be the outgoing call. Which number are you making the call on?
Usually it pops up and asks you which phone you want to use.
Yeah.
When you go to dial it, you want this to go on this one or that one?
So that's the real big difference. Yeah. And the new iPhones are dual SIM. They're all
11?
the 11, I think even the 10, I think since the 8 they've been dual SIM. But if you haven't been paying attention, they have an eSIM and a SIM card. The eSIM does not get removed. It's silicon. It's a chip that gets programmed for your service provider. If you're bringing a new iPhone or an iPhone 8 or newer down and you want to use it as a dual SIM, you need to go to your service provider in the States and get them to activate your service on that eSIM and toss your SIM card so that you have a slot available for Telcel down here.
Or just bring your old one with you and get a new SIM card for it.
Well, you could pull out that SIM card, but you wouldn't be taking advantage of the dual SIM.
Well, they told me when I got my phone through Consumer Cellular, and they said that for the first so many months, 3 months or 6 months, that you had to continue with Consumer Cellular. So I don't want to.
Oh,
Screw that
and
up.
and really these I don't know what to call them. These cell services, Mint and Verge and Consumer Cellular, and these discount Boost, I think, is one of them. I don't know how they deal with eSIMs. I do know that if you've got a SIM in your brand new iPhone because you just moved it over there from AT&T, you can go to AT&T and say, I want it on my eSIM. I don't want it in this card. And so they can program the eSIM.
Well, that's what they would have done.
I don't know if Consumer Cellular will do that, but I know AT&T will do that if you're with AT&T. Or Verizon will do that if you're with Verizon. And then leaving you with an open SIM slot that you can put a second service in.
Or you can buy a burner phone,
There you go.
or just go to Telcel. and
Well, I
buy
haven't-
a
Well,
local
I
phone.
have
yeah,
an
sure.
old
I'm
iPhone.
just talking about the new iPhones.
Right.
A lot of people don't realize
But
that
how
they're
do you-
dual SIMs.
How do you know? Because how do you find out if it is?
Yeah,
It
how do you-
doesn't tell you that.
Well, what model phone do you have?
A 10.
You can't Google it.
I have an
Then it's
11.
dual SIM.
I know, but where do I see that it is? I've never seen that.
We might
No.
be done with this meeting.
I hear the rain.
The rain is coming.
Who is that?
It's not in
It
settings.
takes a while for it to soak through.
Yeah.
Yeah, as I'm looking at the light peering through the ceiling.
You're right. Yeah.
A cell phone, Huawei.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
So,
Interesting.
so all the iPhones, I
They
think
are.
since iPhone 8, well, no, I'm sorry, the 8 Plus, the big 8.
Yeah, okay.
Since the big 8, all of the new models are dual SIM. They have an eSIM and they have a SIM slot. And they actually made a model for China because that was the specification. And it actually has 2 SIM slots in it. But they haven't made that available to the rest of the world.
She hasn't collected.
I'm happy we've made it to almost 10 o'clock.
The good old-fashioned battery-operated ones, for handheld. Is there a way of protecting them in the wintertime from the battery getting less and less power to it? Because now I can only talk for like 2 or 3 minutes on them before Go they buy new need charging. batteries.
No, I just go buy new batteries.
RCA has.
RCA Victor, the electronic Aranda has batteries too, right
Where's
on.
Aranda?
It's right past 20th on Cerdan. It's a big blue and orange building. It's half sports goods. Yeah, but then RCA Victor's right around the
It's
corner.
closer.
Yeah.
It's
Those are
usually-
2 different places you could go looking for batteries. And the,
Cost what a phone does.
What about the one by the auto
Well-
parts store?
I don't know if they would have phone batteries.
These are those little.
They don't.
Mine take those little
2 packs.
try.
2032s.
But it seems like even in Walmart, they've got packages of like the 2 standard batteries.
We've not found them.
No? Yeah.
Not right.
Their stock seems to,
Very.
they either
Yeah.
have it or they don't. You know, and
You-
6 months later, they might have it.
You know, most of the cordless phones for the home now take double or triple A rechargeable batteries. And if your phone isn't of that style, it might be a good reason to just upgrade your phone, because that
And
is
the
so
ones
much
from home back
cheaper.
down here,
Yeah, that's so much cheaper to buy those batteries than find these unique packaged rechargeable batteries. It's
They do have phones at Sam's Club.
my every
And batteries.
every 2 years my wife tries to get me to get a new home phone, which we never used a home phone. This one's dying, and it's always the batteries of. But because they're AAA rechargeables, I can just chuck them in the trash and buy new ones at
yeah. Well, if they're
Oxo.
rechargeable.
Yeah,
Why are you chucking them into?
Yeah.
Because they
if
don't
they're
recharge
rechargeable.
after a while.
well, because they're finally dead.
Oh, they're done. Okay.
Yeah, they're finally done, because, I mean, rechargeables are pretty consistent, which mean that within about 3 years they're dead. There's no bringing them back. They are done. At a year and a half, if you're getting more than 50% life out of them, it's a gift. So enjoy it, because at about 3 years you're going to be done with those batteries.
I thought you were supposed to throw them in a fire.
Absolutely, with young children around.
Right.
Oh, no, I'm not kidding. Just
What
the
subject-
children you don't like.
What
Just-
subjects,
Just your in-laws children.
Scott, what subjects do you have?
Well, one of them was the Amazon debate that's going on about whether they're downgrading the quality on, and as we've brought it up, I mean, I don't see anybody that's relating to this topic. Maybe now that it's placed in the back of your head, if you're using a Roku or a smart TV for Amazon Prime, when it does start to degrade in quality, just make a mental note of it. Let's see if this is something that we can see. But my personal experience, I haven't seen this problem that they're. I'm more likely to believe Amazon's just working its way up to a service that could compete with Netflix, and these are the growing pains of it. The other topic I brought, here we go. Last week we were joking about Google Photos, and somebody said, "What about pets?" So I did that research.
It's there.
It's been doing pets since 2017.
I did see that.
I thought you guys might get a kick out of this. I was playing with photos this morning. I'm going to bring up my photos. This is Chrome. I'm signed in. If you look in the upper right-hand corner of both the Chrome browser and my webpage, there's a picture of me. That indicates I'm signed into the browser. Right, I'll bring my cursor. Right here, this is my Scott profile in the Chrome browser. And I'm going to go to the photo app. I see it right here. Okay, you guys are gonna bear witness to all the photos in my life. They've come off my camera. I should not have anything indecent in here. But if I do, you're forewarned. It'll probably be Star Wars. It'll probably be like kinky pictures of Star Wars. So what I started just doing Google searches in my photos and was amazed. We just had this run for domestic violence.
Did you run or walk?
I ran 5K. My wife kicked my ass.
All the way down.
She did. It was the first time she's beat me. She beat me big time too. She really beat me. So I just Googled race, and at the very top are the race photos.
Wow.
Cool.
Now, are those photos labeled race?
No, they're not. And that's what's amazing about this.
Scary. No, it's kind of scary.
It is.
Um,
Looking
Yeah.
at your photos.
I also
Type in beach, it'll.
I typed in the name of one of my dogs, Manchas. There is only one photo labeled Manchas in my whole collection.
That's all it takes for face recognition.
And so it found all these other pictures of my dog using that name. It actually did a better job of finding it than I did put in dog. It's a really bizarre, I don't know. I think somebody at Google is trying to hurt my feelings because there are all kinds of
people?
strange. Yeah, there's people that are showing up in the dog pictures. But I got a kick out of this one. Over here, I'm holding up a snake. I should Google that. I'm holding up to the camera my buddy's snake. I'm in Arizona sending it to my
But
kids.
there's a dog.
And there's a dog in the
Oh
background. And you can see there's dogs on the beach here.
So you're really better off not labeling.
Well, no. I like, for in Monch's case,
Yeah, well,
I didn't see a bunch of Monch's picture under dog. I saw a bunch of Monch's picture under Mancha. This is all the dog search. See all that? These are all the dog search I did.
So you labeled one and then it would search.
For Monch's, I had one picture of my dog that I labeled Monch's, and then when I put in Monch's to the search, it found all the other pictures of that dog.
these are only your photos, they're not photos of friends and family and et cetera, et cetera.
These are all the photos I've taken
You've
off.
taken.
Yeah, and I've put in Google Photos, but your photos would act the same way.
If you put all your photos into Google Photos,
Mm-hmm.
will they still be on your Apple phone and Apple?
Yeah, the way you
we
get
can-
them into Photos is two ways. Either you've installed Google Photos on your device, and so you just start it up and say sync backup in the Google Photos app, and it'll take everything off of your, not off, I'm sorry, it will copy from your device all the photos you have and stick them in your Google Cloud. You're given the option of high quality or original quality, which is some odd language, because they don't want you to think they're low quality. Well, you can see right here, none of these are the original quality photos. Like here we're looking,
Google Photos.
this is Google Photos. This is Google's interpretation of a picture of my wife with our dog. It is a lower quality photo than the original photo, but it's a high enough quality photo that I'm perfectly content with it.
It's also
Right?
So you can click on it to enhance the
Well,
quality.
I can zoom in a
You
bit.
can edit it there.
Well, no, there's some of that in Google Photos as well.
Is there?
But I wouldn't, I mean, you've got the original. I'd work off the original.
Yeah.
I wouldn't work off the Google Photo. And the point I'm trying to make is that Google offers you two tiers of syncing photos. One is free and unlimited,
Oh, okay.
and that is high quality photos. The other is original photos, which you have to buy space for. You're good for free up to about 15 gigabytes. But after that, you're going to run out of space. My recommendation for everybody who doesn't have a privacy concern with Google, to install Google Photos in their mobile device and set up backup sync. Your phone gets stolen, your phone dies, you haven't had a chance to sync it with your computer. You'll have high quality photos in your Google account. Every time you've taken photos with that device, at some point when you're on Wi-Fi, Google has taken a copy of those and put it up in the cloud. So you can walk away from that device and know all those personal pictures. There's copies of them out there.
And it syncs across all your devices?
You
Well-
synced across.
No, wait.
No. Judy's coming from an Apple perspective,
Exactly.
Yeah.
and it's not about syncing. It's about being in the cloud.
Yeah, I know, but
So
you just
if-
said it syncs from my device to the cloud.
Let-
Does it sync across all my devices? to
Let
the
me
Google
finish
Cloud?
this thought.
Okay.
You're looking at it from an Apple perspective.
am.
You need to look at it from a Google perspective. It's about getting them in the cloud. On all your devices, you can install Google Photos, with the exception of a PC or a Macintosh. A computer, you go to it like I have now. You go to it as a web page. But on your tablets, on your phones, you install Google Photos, and you immediately are greeted with this collection of photos, like you'd see here, and they have a little indicator in the corner that's a cloud. Any one of those photos you can pull down to your device out of the cloud, but they're not synced into your device. The ability to bring any photo to your device is there without taking up the space in your device. Does that make sense? So it's not in your device. It doesn't sync across devices. It gives you access to the same archive of photos in the cloud. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So once you bring it to your computer, what can you do with it? Can you do anything you want with it, or?
Well,
is it
and
just static?
I don't think you're bringing them to your computer. I think you're getting them from your computer up to Google Photos.
Yeah.
And in the computer, in Windows or in Macintosh, you download an application called Backup Sync, and you let it loose on your photo folders. So, like in Windows 10, you have a folder called Pictures. And if you've been plugging in a camera or card and synchronizing, that's the place normally your photos go. You install Google Photos Sync and Backup, and in Windows 10 it actually looks there first because that's the most common place. But you tell it which folders to synchronize up into the cloud, and then it runs rampant on your hard drive finding all these photos. As you add photos to that folder, then Google periodically looks for the new photos and puts them up in the cloud for you. Now those photos are available on whatever device. They're marked with an icon that has a cloud. How is this for a topic that I'm not prepared to talk about? I'm doing pretty good,
I need to know
huh?
because
It also
I'm
allows you
s-
to
I
share
have
your
another
library
question.
with a partner.
On the new phones that has live, and you don't realize when you first start taking photos that live eats up all that space. How can you get rid of the live part of it but still keep the photo?
Okay, you're talking about specifically an iPhone thing.
Yeah.
I will be happy to write that down on a lookup,
Okay.
but I don't have that information. I would like to have that information, but I don't.
So
Okay.
can we,
What you're asking is how to not take live photos
I know how to,
all the
now
time.
I know that you just hit that.
To
you know,
turn it off.
It has a little
you
thing.
can turn it off
and you
on
can turn
the
it off.
picture.
But the pictures that I've already taken,
You can turn it off on the picture, I believe.
you think so?
So-
delete
I'll
it.
try again. I've tried before.
Live, I'm going to put a lookup here. Look up. Live photos. It's very much an
iPhone
iPhone
11.
thing.
Well, I don't know. But
And it's turn it off by default,
No.
so it doesn't take up the space. Turn it off on individual pictures.
She wants to turn it off on a picture that she's already
existing
taken.
pictures.
On an existing picture.
And I thought there was an option, but
And
can I
does it
just
eliminate
clarify
it from
one
the
thing?
cloud?
So
I
my,
think you'd be creating a new picture. I think what you would be
Yes.
doing, this is what I'm assuming, is that
Exactly.
you'd find it in the live, that's what I want to capture. You'd
Yes.
capture that as a still, and then you delete the other photo. Yeah.
all right.
so does that Google space in the cloud for my photos impact my Google space in the cloud for my email? Or-
It's the same 15 gigabytes of space, but if you're doing high, it's unlimited. So it's not part of the
Okay.
15 gigs. If you're doing original, then you're nibbling away at that space they've given you for free, and just like Apple, when you run out, they're going to go, hey, it's really easy to buy more space.
Yeah.
It's-
Have you learned this empirically or by reading something or YouTube, seeing how to do all this? Because the only way I know to get a picture from this, my computer, is to email it to myself and download it from my
So-
email.
So let me reiterate, and yes is the answer to that. Is I know it because of all of that, but let me reiterate my recommendation for all your mobile devices is to install, if you don't have a privacy concern with Google. That's, okay? I mean, there are people that have good arguments for privacy. Google will not allow you any privacy. But if you're cheap, if you don't want to pay a subscription fee, if you're worried about losing your pictures, install Google Photos and turn on the backup for high quality. You will not run out of space. You will not be charged a subscription fee. You will have the peace of mind of knowing the picture you took yesterday on the beach will be stored in the cloud today when you've gotten back to your Wi-Fi connection, and you don't have to do anything. It will have done it automatically. It will happen in the background of your device. I think it's an awesome, powerful tool to take advantage of. And then, as a bonus, you've got all this crazy searching that you can do to bring things out. A couple I haven't tried yet, but I'll try with you. I wanted to do birds. I take bird pictures from time to time on the beach, and I just wanted to try birds because I was thinking it as we were talking. These are albums popping up at the top here. I don't know if they're related or not, but absolutely what comes up, those are all
Nice.
bird pictures.
And it was
Are any of them labeled bird?
Nothing's labeled birds. Look, there's a
duck
poster.
race, don't you like that?
Those with the bird on.
Right, here's
It's a great
here's
shot.
here's a note. I don't even know what the note is. It might be a recipe, but it's got a bird on the corner of it.
Duck à la roche.
How about if you said duck? Would it find only those pictures of ducks?
I got duck pictures too, so probably and goose pictures. Here are ducks that my kids raised over the summer. We had an incubator in the house and we raised a bunch of ducks.
And then you ate them.
No, but my friend did. they were her ducks.
They went to a big farm.
Yeah, they went to a farm.
The big farm in the sky.
Invited for dinner.
And then in classic Google fashion, we reach a point where it just starts throwing things at you.
Okay. That may be
Anything
birds.
duck-like.
Anything that could be related to ducks.
That's cute.
It's a bird, right?
Now these are all on your computer.
These are all, no, these are all in the Google Cloud. Yeah, in Google, you remember there was Picasa.
Yes.
That was an awesome
I just
program,
know
and
about
we're all very sad that it doesn't still
Yeah.
exist. Google intentionally killed Picasa, took all that technology, and stuck it online.
So it's much harder now to
Oh, in
edit.
Google Earth,
It really
those
is.
pictures are in Google Photos.
Yeah, this is, if you look at that web address, it's photos.google.com.
Now, what I also want to know is, when I look at my album here of photos that I've taken with my cell phone, there are recent pictures that I took and installed in my computer. So how does this know what's on my computer?
Do they sing?
Magic.
Well, I don't know. I've never said sync anything.
It works.
Oh.
But the thing is now on my new computer, there's all these cloud things and boxes, and it's not just on my computer. I understand. It's going to the cloud. So is this looking at the cloud, some cloud feature? Cloud
You've
One or
got
something
you've
like
got
that?
some kind of sync taking
Yeah.
your pictures on your PC and putting it up in the
Yeah.
cloud.
Fortunately, it doesn't have all the pictures from my computer because there's a jillion of them. You know.
Wow, that went a different direction. I was thinking,
Well-
what pictures do you have on your computer that you're
Well,
worried
all the
about finding in the
birding- all the
cloud?
birding pictures I've got. You know.
I just typed in Tetekawi. None of my pictures are labeled Tetekawi.
Really.
Oh my.
Oh, and that's
Then
all
only
that came
half
up.
of it- Only
I've-
half of the Tetekawi.
I've got a lot more Tetekawi pictures, so this isn't a good representation. I mean, they've obviously, well, maybe they're doing geo-tracking. Maybe they see that where I'm located and correlating it with my search term. Because I actually do have a lot more Tetekawi pictures than this.
Okay, now you said
But it's impressive that even that would come out.
install Google Photos and then turn on something.
Yeah, if you go into settings,
Yeah.
there will be a setting for backup and sync. And you go into that setting, and it will be defaulted to off, and it will be defaulted to high quality, the unlimited. And you just have to flip the on switch. And it will start doing backups whenever you're connected to a Wi-Fi. Actually, don't do this right now because I'm streaming online. If you're connected to the Tequila's bar, it's probably going to cut into our YouTube.
Oh yeah. Okay, back up and what?
Backup and sync.
Oh, sync.
Doesn't it say backup and sync together
Yes,
as
it
one
does.
term?
Sticky notes.
Oh, okay.
And that's with an SY.
So go back and search for something else. I thought that was really interesting.
What should we search for? Give me something to search for.
Orca.
Orca. Oh, I wonder if I have any orca pictures.
Well, we'll see.
Orca.
I was thinking Alaska. Doesn't matter. Oh my
Oh
goodness.
my gosh.
I saw that, and I wondered what that was.
It's a joke. It's Photoshop, I'm
Yeah, I
certain.
don't-
Is it really?
It's not
Yeah.
really
It's
an
gotta
orca.
be.
This has got to be just whatever.
Looks like them.
Yeah, I bet I don't have any orca pictures, but I've got seal
Loch Ness
pictures. Let's
Monster
try seal.
Have your girls gone out and swum with the dolphin?
Look at that.
I have, but not here.
Huh?
In Florida.
So, I mean, it actually
Well,
brought up
here.
a seal picture I wasn't expecting and a seal picture I was expecting, but there's actually a bunch of seal pictures from.
It's still
Yeah, for some reason it only popped up that one seal picture, but there's a bunch from that same time period. This is when we went to the dolphinarium when they didn't have dolphins.
Yeah.
Oh, they swam with
Oh,
them?
they did have
They
dolphins
did
then.
swim with them.
They didn't swim with them.
Oh, they didn't.
No.
I have a question about resolution.
Okay.
I have taken pictures, like right here, with camera, and then I've taken pictures with a phone, and the phone doesn't have the resolution that the camera has. And I want to blow them up to 3 by 3, 3 foot by 3 foot. Now, I know that in the future we're going to have rooms with white walls where we can project onto a 12 foot by 12 foot wall any photo we want to have. So we can change the character of a room from jungle to desert to whatever. Okay, this is we're gonna see this because it's already happening. And resolution, when you think about the eye looking out and seeing the far off and the eye looking over across the room, it's clear. So the eye has resolution or pixels or whatever to make things so it's very clear. But the camera doesn't do that.
Well, the camera does now.
Does it really?
Yeah, we've got 4K cameras. These iPhones are all 4K cameras. I mean, these are
Really?
insanely. You can zoom in. In fact, what was?
So an iPhone, you could take a picture and blow it up to 12 foot by 12 foot?
Yeah, you could.
Really?
I mean, we have more resolution than we know what to do with. That's one of the reasons that I recommend this for anybody that's got a mobile device and they're taking pictures and they know they're not being good about backing up, because even at a lesser quality, you've taken such a high quality picture, you've got pixels to burn. And so there's no reason not to have Google Photos limitlessly checking your, synchronizing that up into the cloud so you have a backup. Even though the caveat is that you are losing pixels, you've got plenty of pixels to lose.
Is that with a special phone?
Well, I mean, the high-end phones are all 4K phones now. 4K video phones.
You just looked down.
No, I'm not gonna get up.
Thank you.
Well, I'm just.
So yeah, I would use Google Photos.
I think I'm used to Google.
And that's some amazing stuff that I can't think of anything else to search for at the moment.
Installing it on the cell phone.
Yes.
Do I have to also install it on my computer?
You don't have to, Paul, the way you've explained your experiences, I'm imagining it's already installed.
I guess so.
I think there's a good
You have a
chance.
new computer.
Oh, here I
I have a new computer.
just did a search for boats. Well, that's us going down the river in Alaska. Well, there's Sid. My buddy Sid will be here at the end of the month. So none of these are labeled boat anything. This is all Google stuff.
And can you search by people's name?
Well, probably, yeah, I can, but because I've got them associated with people.
Oh, okay.
Like here is people in my life.
Okay.
And I could put names on each one of these faces. I haven't.
You have your name on one.
Well,
So if you
they
do
know
that-
who I am. It's my
Oh,
account,
yeah.
so they know who I am.
So you have to-
Whether I put it on there or not, they definitely know who I am. But then any one of these faces, I could,
Uh-huh.
and then these would be all Jose Luis pictures. Everything that Jose Luis is in.
Sounds like put one name on one picture, it'll do facial recognition and label all the other ones.
Well, it does that in photos anyway.
Yeah. Well, and one thing that got us on this topic was we were talking about Bob using the Chromecast to be a digital picture frame for the
Right.
computer, for the TV. And the question was, which photos? The Chromecast is an isolated device. It plugs into the back of your TV, and you have to set it up using your Google account. When you go into the Chromecast software, it asks you what photos you would like to put up there. And on my Chromecast, I used a smart folder, that's my term, called Friends and Family. And it allowed me to put a check mark on all the faces. You see the faces of my people. These are all my people. It allowed me to put a check mark on the people I wanted in the pictures. And then it made its inventory out of all the pictures that had those faces in them. So that's smart. Oh, and the other thing I've discovered since then is as I've taken more pictures of my people, they have been automatically added to that
your
folder.
people.
So I take a new picture of my daughter, it's going to show up on my Chromecast eventually. It'll be added to that in fact, something it's either on my phone or my Chromecast, I can't remember where I saw it, but something was telling me it must be my phone. This has been added to Friends and Family because it recognized it as being a face from the people that I selected. So it's dynamically updating that picture show. So you could have like a face that you're always trying to put up, and you find a new picture and you add it to your Google Photos collection, it would automatically add it to your Chromecast slideshow.
He's using. What phone are you using?
I use a Huawei. It's called an Honor 6X. We've got a lot of Huaweis in my family. I've got a 6X, my daughter's got a 7X, my wife's got an 8X. Yeah, they're great phones. They're absolutely great phones. As far as security goes, we've never had anyone report any issues with Huawei phones, and the discussion that our administration's having is about the bigger stuff, the stuff that runs networks, not the handheld devices. But again, in
Did you purchase
Trumpian style, they have made it impossible for our carriers to sell Huawei phones because they want Huawei to hurt.
You purchased it in Mexico then?
No, I bought mine in the United States on Amazon because you can buy it from individual vendors, but carriers are not allowed to sell them. So they can't strike up deals with Huawei. Like AT&T can't offer a Huawei phone at a special price.
That's like when I went into Target to get a new iPhone. They only would sell me a 6 iPhone, and
Right.
and they said you can go out online and get it delivered, but you can't buy it in the store.
The 6.
Yeah, I could
I
could do the 6 at Target, but if I got the 11, and I had to order it online.
Were you able to order it online from Target?
No, I ordered
So-
it right from Consumer Cellular, because that
Oh,
was the
it was
carrier we
from-
were already
okay.
using with our old one.
Interesting.
So yeah, I thought so.
Now,
Yeah.
so like T-Mobile advertises you get a free iPhone.
Yeah,
What?
2. Well, you buy one, you get one free.
Yeah. So are those the latest copy that it normally costs $12,000, $1,200?
Take out a mortgage, you can have a new phone.
They normally cost anywhere from $1,100.
Yeah. So,
$700.
but then your payment is you're paying $500 a month for 20
Well,
years.
it depends. I mean, I bought my phone outright, and we stayed with the same amount that we're paying for 2 phones. It's like $47 a month.
The
Well,
thing,
I
if
only-
you- if you get an
I only
Apple II,
understand
you know
2%
in 2
of
years
this
they're gonna
phone.
be pushing a new
An
model
iPhone, I
out.
don't even
Plan
understand
on it.
0.2% of the phone.
I think there's a good argument for hardware as a service. I mean, the way they're offering. I can't get myself up into that economic bracket, and I'm still old school. I like owning my own equipment. But I think there is something to be said for paying $30 a month, knowing every 2 years you've got the latest technology, that you can budget that price. You've covered. If you break the screen, you know you can get it fixed for free. You're not. There isn't an.
It's like leasing a car.
Say again?
It's like leasing a car.
It's exactly like leasing a car. That's what it is. It's that model.
Basically, if you're business and something like that, you can write it off. It's good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, guys,
You talked about
I gotta go.
the Chromecast versus the Fire Stick.
Yes,
And the Chromecast, you have to use a phone or a pad.
that's right. You have to have a secondary device.
And I don't use either one.
You could use your laptop if you have a laptop, or you could use your desktop, which would be mighty inconvenient. Because
That's right.
yeah.
That's the inconvenient. Okay, so the other route is to go with the Fire Stick.
But if your goal is the slideshow, if that's your goal with the
Right.
Chromecast you've got, if that's what you're trying to accomplish, then it's you could use a computer to set it up, and then you just set it and forget it. It's just
But
ready
if
to
I
go.
wanted to use a remote, then I go to Fire Stick.
Well, they come, Fire Stick, Roku, all these other devices come with their own remote. But if you want to use a Fire Stick, then you're not doing any of this Google Photo stuff. You've got to do the Amazon Photo stuff, which is something that I know you're not doing because none of us are doing it because it's a new thing that they've started doing. They're offering you space in the cloud the same way Google does, and you have to just pick them as your cloud backup provider for your photos. And it also, I mean, I know it works, but it hasn't been proven over time. They don't have, 5 years in the market doing photos. They've got the last 2 years doing photos.
I've still got that phone that you pay $15 a month.
You hear the rain?
Hmm?
The rain? We've already had one scare in here because it started raining.
Oh, really? I've got that phone that pay $15 a month, and because I don't use a phone and I don't
Right.
use an iPad. My
Right.
wife does, and
Well, you see, you could use your mom's. What am I saying? Your wife's equipment to get that Chromecast
that's
configured,
true. But I
and then
don't
you're
know
done.
how. But I don't know how. So if I wanted to use my phone, which is not good in Mexico, I can still use the phone for apps. I can use it for a lot of other
Yeah,
things.
it's a smartphone.
It's a smartphone.
Yeah,
yes.
so it would do it.
So it would do that.
Yeah.
What would it do? Everything but phone calls?
It would probably do phone calls if you bought a SIM card.
It's locked.
Oh, it's locked to the other network.
right.
Oh, yeah.
It's locked.
So you can't put another. Yeah, it would do everything but phone calls. You could install Skype on it and use Skype account to make phone calls.
Oh, really?
Do you have a Magic Jack in your life?
No, I
Or
don't
a
have
Vonage?
Magic Jack. No,
You have
I
nothing like that?
I have. I have the other one.
Vonage?
If you wanted
I have
help,
Vonage for phone.
if
Okay.
you wanted help
I
setting
used to
that up,
have.
So Vonage has an app, but in my experience, and I haven't done it recently, we couldn't get the app installed in Mexico.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't remember seeing Vonage work in Mexico
I had
as
Uma.
an app.
I tried Uma, and it was a problem.
Okay, I'm not familiar with that one. I think we've mentioned it here in class, but I've
We
never
mentioned
heard in
it,
club.
yes. Uma.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever tried it.
It's very cheap,
Yeah,
and that's the reason I tried it.
I think Magic Jack's a great one. Now, we've got the equipment in the office, but then I've got the app on like 3 different phones. And you don't even have to have the equipment running for you to be able to receive calls
With
Magic Jack. But what you need for your phone to do any of that, Skype, Magic Jack, Vonage, you need a Wi-Fi connection because you don't have a cellular connection.
right.
Yeah.
Interesting. That was very interesting.
All right.
Especially the photos. That because I've tried to blow things up 3x3
Mm-hmm.
with my camera,
Yeah.
and I lose resolution at that point.
Yeah, it probably. I don't know what the limitations are on your camera, but nowadays.
actually you don't lose resolution.
The pixels are not enough.
You have correct.
You-
You have as much
that's right.
when a digital image is captured. You have X number of pixels in the x-axis and the y-axis. That's it.
You don't have
You'll
enough
never
resolution.
Have more. You can make it any size, but let's say you make it twice as big. It takes 1 pixel, which has a certain color value,
Right.
and it makes 2. If you make it 3 times as big, it makes 3. It just gets fuzzier and fuzzier and fuzzier.
Well, and
But
the
it does get
fuzziness
blurry.
is directly related to the display device, and and it's called upscaling, and you're trying to upscale because you don't have enough resolution to fill those pixels. And so the device has to figure out a way to upscale that into all these pixels. And that's why standard definition content like I Love Lucy can look so bad on a brand new TV, is because the information is not there. And so the TV is left trying to figure out how to interpret the information.
It just blows it up.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but the blowing up has become a software thing. It can blow it up much better. When you look for TVs that you want to watch standard quality on, you're looking for ones that are highly rated and upscaling, because there are different scenarios for upscaling standard definition. Your projector could have a different experience than your computer monitor, which can have a different experience than your phone, which can have a different experience from your smart TV. It's that upscaling. How well does it deal with upscaling?
It's a good argument for buying smaller monitors, man, because, you know, I hate Lucy when she's fuzzy.
Well, and like you can have a 4K TV that's 65 inches, and you're going to hate I Love Lucy in its standard form. It needs to get upscaled either before it gets put into, like you bought the DVD Blu-ray box set that has, they've done the upscaling for you, so the content going to the TV is 4K. It's just based on that standard definition, and they used all their Hollywood magic to bring it up to that scale so you have a good experience. Or your TV has to be sophisticated enough to take that really low res and make it look pretty on a big 4K display.
But with the iPhone that you were talking about, you could blow it up to most any size?
You could start by taking that higher quality. That's what we're talking about. Is your resolution doesn't change. Your resolution is set at whatever you made the content in. And so, like some people take their phone. Like I don't take pictures at as high a quality as my phone can, because I don't need them that high a quality. What I need more is storage space.
Right.
But if I needed 4K content, I wouldn't have this phone. I'd have an iPhone. I would just make sure I was taking it in 4K. It would take up a lot of storage space as I went on, and so I'd probably want a beefy iPhone so I can handle all that storage. But then I'd have all this resolution available to me. Does that make sense?
Just I spent 25 years as a pro, and I understand the compromise that Scott is making.
Say it again.
But I understand the compromise that Scott is making,
right,
between the value of storage space and the value of an image.
Right.
But particularly if a phone or any digital device has, you know, removable storage. So in the case of a phone, it would be SD card, or it would be whatever card you put it in.
Yeah, unless it's an iPhone.
I think you just get a big card, you set it at the highest resolution that the device is capable of, and you never touch that setting.
But you're thinking from a professional photographer point of view.
I think that,
I disagree.
I think that even
from a consumer, from a consumer or a prosumer point of view, you have to be very aware of like if you're doing all your stuff on an iPhone, there's only so much that justifies being captured at that high quality.
Right.
And that is a philosophical question.
No, you have the limitations of that device. This can only do such a quality picture, and then the rest of it's up to your shaky hands and the environment you're in.
Yeah, but I always want the most dots, man.
Well, from a professional point of view, you always want to get the highest resolution. From a user point of view, you don't need a high resolution.
Well, there's all these convenience factors that's tied into it.
You can get a Scott will correct me on the exact price, but you can get an extremely high speed 64 gig SD card for 20.
Oh yeah, maybe, yeah,
Okay.
20, 30 bucks, maybe.
Okay. And
maybe less than that, because it seems like you could get 128 for like 80 bucks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. All right. So, but let's go with the 64. 64 gigabytes is an insane amount of still photographs, even if each photograph is at that highest resolution.
But it's not a lot of 4K video.
No,
It's
not,
a
no,
very
it's
small,
it's not a lot
and
of 4K.
and so if you got the latest iPhone and you chose the 128
Well, if you
gig,
got an iPhone, then you're fucked.
if
Because they
you
don't-
can't pull out your memory cards.
Exactly.
And so you buy an iPhone that's stuck with the amount of memory. They sell them in 128, 256, 512 increments. If you got the 128 gig phone, then you're going to be very selective of what resolution you're filming in because it'll take up memory very quickly.
True. Very true.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other hand, you can buy a $75 Android phone with an SD card slot and put in a 256 gigabyte SD card and never have these thoughts.
Well, you could still suffer from these thoughts if your plan is to bring it back to a computer that you've been using for the last 5 years and stick that card in. Now you're working with 4K photos in your 5-year-old computer, and you're like, why is everything moving so slow? How come this editing program used to fly?
Right.
And now it's just like molasses. And the reason is because of those dots that Richard likes.
Right.
It's one of the reasons you upgraded your computer, is because you couldn't take as high resolution photos on your old computer and edit them as easy.
Video transforms, but yeah, sure.
Yeah. So there's a lot that goes into this conversation.
On your TV, I call up a new program, and it takes a few minutes to download it, okay? And then there's always a blurb on there about if you buy a micro SD card. What does that do? I don't have a micro SD card. What is it?
Well, micro SD card, that's what Richard's talking about, what I'm talking about.
I
It's a
know.
memory card that you can stick in your computer or your phone to give you more capacity.
Okay, so I put it into the computer?
You can, as long as you've got the right kind of connector, yeah.
As long as I have the right kind
But
of connection.
what it's used for is to put storage in mostly mobile devices.
Okay.
And then you
Okay.
can pull it out and you can stick it into another device.
What's it
You
do?
can
Make it
transfer
faster?
data.
It's tiny.
It gives it,
A 128 gigabyte card or 64, they're all the same size. It's about the size of your thumbnail.
physically, it's about the size of your thumbnail. You
So
get them in
little
different
tiny little thing.
sizes.
Where do you buy them?
Well, like Oxo sells basic ones.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah,
but if you want, if you're using it for a specific purpose, like taking photos, then you may want to get one. You want to verify the speed of it, and maybe you want a higher capacity than you could find at like an Oxo
So
or
for
a
the
Walmart.
TV that they're talking about, you get an SD card. What would you get?
Well, I think that what you're looking at is a TV that has an SD card slot, and I'm imagining that is for reading whatever's on the card. So your purpose would be to display whatever's on that card. That's the reason you would be putting an SD card
Does it make it faster then?
in a TV. It doesn't make it faster. It has nothing to do with performance.
Okay.
It's one more input option. The same way you'd hook up a VCR.
Well, I'll forget it then.
Yeah, I like where it would be useful would be you've got a bunch of photos that you want to be able to show on your big screen. Then you take the card, you stick it in your computer, you fill it up with photos, you take the card out, you stick it in your TV.
But
I see.
if your phone, your Android phone, has an SD slot and you're not using it,
I've got
I'd
to shut this down and start picking up gears, packing up all this stuff and getting out of
I
here.
ought to bring my phone
I've got a full agenda today,
Is
so
that-
I've got to
I-
say goodbye. This has been the San Carlos Computer Club. I'm Scott Stemson from International Computer Solutions. If you got any issues with computers out there on the internet, get a hold of me, internationalcs.net. You can email me, scott@internationalcs.net, or call our office at 226-0209. If you're interested in the club, check out our website at sccClub.org. We meet every Tuesday here at Tequila's from 9:15 to 10:15-ish. And we've got to shut this down. So until next week, everybody tech on, and we'll see you then.